Hey, Dave here, and in the previous video we discussed creating security policies and adding firewall rules to said security policies using PowerNSX. In this video we'll talk about editing security policy rules and then applying the policy to security groups. To kick things off, let's talk about edit-nsx security policy firewall rule. This command allows us to edit existing security policy rules, and the associated parameters are security policy, firewall rule, and execution order. First, we identify a security policy we want to modify with the security policy parameter. Then we use the firewall parameter, which accepts a hash table with the following keys: name, description, enabled, logging, action, and direction. As discussed in the last video, the keys are everything to the left side of the equal sign, and the values are everything to the right side of the equal sign. It's very similar to the firewall rule parameter for add-nsx security policy FW rule commandlet, excluding the service and security group keys. The service and security group objects can be modified using their respective commandlets. For service, we have add-nsx service to SP FW rule and remove-nsx service from SP FW rule. For security groups, we have add-nsx SG to SP FW rule and remove-nsx SG from SP FW rule. The last parameter is the execution order, which allows us to select a particular rule we want to modify. Okay, demo time. Let's create a security policy with 4 predefined rules as shown. To confirm the rules were indeed created, we'll store the contents of get_nsx security policy SP-001 into a variable called $SP. Then navigating the properties of $SP, starting with actions by category, then to action, and finally to the count property, which gives us the total number of rules inside our security policy. If you want to know what properties are associated with an object, simply pass the object, in this case variable $SP, across the pipeline to get member, or use the alias GM for short, as shown. Next, let's grab the current state of Rule 2 using the following commands. As you can see, Rule 2 has a name of Rule 2, a description of Rule 2 description. It is currently enabled, logging is disabled, action is set to allow, and direction is set to inbound. Let's modify Rule 2 using a hash table, storing this information into a variable called $FW. But before we execute the command, let's talk about the acceptable values for each key. The enabled and logging keys accept a Boolean value of $true or $false. The action keys accept predefined values of allow, block, or reject. And the direction key also accepts predefined values of inbound, outbound, and intra. The value intra is when policy security groups have been selected for both the source and destination. More on the actions and direction keys in a bit. Okay, now we'll edit Rule 2 in SP-001 using the edit-nsx security policy FW rule commandlet. In the security policy parameter, we'll wrap get_nsx security policy SP-001 inside of parentheses to retrieve our policy. For the firewall rule parameter, we'll use the variable $FW as it contains the modified values for our firewall rule. Finally, the execution order parameter allows us to select a specific rule to modify. In this example, that's Rule 2. To confirm, we'll store the results into variable $SPEdit. Then we filter on Rule 2 and select the specific properties. And as you can see, Rule 2 was successfully modified. The following examples show what happens if we provide the incorrect value for a given key. In this first example, the direction key's value has been set to inside, which is incorrect. Notice the error message. The argument inside does not belong to the set inbound, outbound, intra. Specify the validate set attribute. Supply an argument that is in the set and then try the command again. As you can see, PowerShell provides helpful information by telling us what values to use: inbound, outbound, intra. Let's change the value for direction from inside to intra and execute the command again. As you can see, it completed without issue. Since we just spoke of intra, let's get a visual of what this looks like in the GUI. As you can see, the source and destination for Rule 2 has policy security groups selected. We'll also verify this using PowerNSX. Again, we'll store the results into variable $SPEdit, then filter on Rule 2 and select the specific properties. As you can see, the direction property is set to intra. The second example shows a similar issue, except the actions key has the incorrect value of deny. PowerShell returns the message that the argument deny does not belong to the set allow, block, reject. Specify the validate set attribute. Supply an argument that is in the set and try the command again. Again, the error message provided is descriptive, informing us to use allow, block, or reject. Using block allows the commandlet to complete successfully, and as always, we'll confirm the results by running the highlighted commands. With a completed security policy, SP-001, let's apply it to a couple security groups using the add-nsx apply sp to sg commandlet. This commandlet has two parameters, security policy and security groups. Simply provide a policy and the security groups you would like to have the policy applied to. In this demo, we'll apply security policy SP-001 to security groups SG-004 and SG-005 using the following command. Next, let's apply security policy SP-001 to security groups SG-006 and SG-007 using the pipeline method. We can confirm the security policy was indeed applied by running the following commands. Note the security group binding is an API terminology and is equivalent to apply to in the GUI. That's going to wrap up this video. In the next video, we'll discuss removing security groups and services from security policy rules, as well as removing entire rules with PowerNSX. Also, we'll cover how to properly decommission security policies.